I'm trying to like peek inside the longhouse to see how they have it laid out. The fish isn't tropical? I didn't see. Let's go back down. Hold on. Tell your dad to hold up a second. I just got to look at your fish. Let me see what kind of fish you have here. Certainly not tropical. I gotta admit, I have no idea what kind of fish live in Iceland. I know I wrote a paper on it back in college. Let me see. That's a fish, all right. Analyzing which specific Icelandic fish was used in the background of the final act of the game Hellblade: Senua's Saga was one of the many instances of Archaeogaming that we enjoyed when we played through the game over the summer. I'm finally back home and have some time, so I decided to circle around and edit this into a video. I've really enjoyed playing through the Hellblade series, not just because it's a great game with excellent narrative storytelling and crazy environmental thrills. Jesus Christ! But also just because of the unique perspective that it provides to players on Vikings. Normally these days, Vikings are shown in mass media as somewhat protagonistic figures. You know, sometimes we see them a little more rough and tumble. They do things that aren't super great. But in the end, you know, they're either like the charming, you know, meathead barbarian, oh, he's a tough guy, but at the end of the day, he's doing what's right kind of thing. But this game really just kind of shows the more villainous side of what it was to be a Viking. We're looking at a woman who lived in historic, what would now be Scotland, who had her entire family, friends, village, everything in her life ripped away, burned to the ground, and massacred by Vikings, pillagers from Scandinavia who came in as these unfamiliar, bestial, vicious, as she interprets them, beings. Which, when you see it in that sort of context, it really kind of drives home what unique perspective people during that time period must have felt. And the reason why the Vikings got all of the bravado written about them that they did. They were scary. They were scary, mean dudes at the end of the day. But regardless of that, the game itself is also just a great way to interpret certain developmental choices. How are people taking historical references and implementing them into their video games in a way that we, as archaeologists and gamers, can look at them and say, oh yeah, I see where that's coming from, or oh, that's taught me a lot about that I didn't know before. And that's kind of what I did here. Hellblade was a game that allowed for a lot of distractions in that regard. Somewhere along the line, I kind of stopped just playing the game and I accidentally did my real-life job of archaeology when I was supposed to be doing my side hustle hobby of being a clown on the internet and playing video games. And I thought it would be fun to show what it was like analyzing a game from a historic context. Doing archaeogaming. Maybe you'll learn something. I don't know. That building actually looks okay. These houses are... these houses are not bad in general. Icelandic houses were a little bit different. A lot of time, these are very like, almost like Norwegian inspired. No, I guess there were houses like this in Iceland as well, but Iceland was big on turf houses, turf roof houses. This guy's armor, we've talked about how the helmets are actually legit. The helmets with the chainmail coif, unironically, one of the better things. The only issue is, why is the chainmail covering the eyes? Look at him. It's covering his eye sockets. Oh, he's got the tattoos. He's got tattoos. Let's see, what does his arm say? It looks like, again, they're using Elder Futhark, which at this time period would have been much more it would have been a much more fading practice. And then there's the big convoluted element about whether or not Vikings had tattoos in the first place, which is a conversation that we had briefly last time, which is we only have one historic reference talking about Vikings with tattoos, meaning we've only heard about one guy writing about it from a contemporary time period. And it was also East Swedish. Oh, they're using this language of runes. They're using an outdated language. You know what's a brilliant way of putting it? Hold on. You know what's a brilliant way of putting it? Like, have you ever read old newspapers? No, scratch that. Have you ever seen old newspapers? Have you ever seen like old writings or old newspapers or like stuff from colonial era America where they had really weird like F's and S's? Hold on. So here, you can see up here, like they have the weird S that looks like an F, and this was like a thing that used to be a thing, right? It was like it was just like an old form of the letter that's not used anymore, right? That's kind of a really good way to describe Elder and Younger Futhark. It's like if we're writing in Younger Futhark, these Viking games keep trying to write as if it's like colonial era. Imagine like games that are being set in modern times where people are talking like it's Shakespearean times. That's kind of like what's going on with the Viking Age using Elder Futhark runes. And that's why I call it out every time I see it. Anyway, let's go talk to this guy's slaver dad. Oh wait, no, pause. We gotta talk about the longhouse. Goated. These post holes, these post locations are super important because they're one of the biggest things that we find when we find evidence of longhouses. In Scandinavia, you're finding pretty much not the actual structure, you're finding post hole outlines in the grounds. And you can tell how big the longhouse was based on the positions of where these post holes were sitting around each other. Now, it does have a very cathedral-esque look to it. Yeah, one thing is like they had they from what we can tell, there are shelves, there are little nooks, like a lot of times they have these little like side sitting areas. The benches and everything are cool here. If I'm going to forgive the lack of a fire pit in the middle because I don't think it's necessary, but a lot of times if they did have like a big fire pit style thing, it would be literally like right in the center area. I like this. Let's look at the interlace pattern here. Ernest style entwined serpent motifs. I'm not seeing any serpent heads though. You see them on that one, although that serpent head image I'm not a huge fan of. And I think that that's not necessarily the worst. Like, I'm sure that there are examples that look similar. It's just not the one that I think of when I think of most entwined serpent motifs. I'm not seeing any gripping beast motifs, which is fine. That's kind of one of the big things that leads me to think that this is Ernest rather than Mammon or Ringerike style. HVAC costs, insane. That's why they had a big fire pit in the middle. Did they get as big as this? Yes. Yeah, this is definitely on the larger side. But based on what I'm seeing, hold on. Let's assume Senua. So when I take a pace... Oh, this is so nerdy. This is so friggin' nerdy. All right, here we go. Now, let's look at this here. As for the sizing of this thing, let's do this. Exit photo mode. So when I take my pacing, right? Like when I take steps, I'm a 6'2" man. When I take steps to mark out my pacing, meaning when I am in the field and I am doing archaeology and I'm trying to determine how far apart certain things are, I know that approximately 5 meters is about 6 steps. I'm a little bit taller, so let's assume that for Senua, it's something in the realm of like 7 or 8 steps. If I had to guesstimate, this is going to look something like, this is going to be somewhere in the 5 to 10 meter range, these post hole distances. So let's get these lined up right here. Good. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So yeah, figure we are in the 10 meter range. So these posts are looking to be approximately 10 meters apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to give it approximately 10 meters apart, maybe a little bit less, maybe like 8 meters or something like that. So assuming 2, 3, And that was, okay, so if we're looking at that, we're looking at 10. We're going to round to 10 for ease. For us American people that use the metric system, 30 feet-ish. Yeah, 10 meters is about 30 feet. When I do shovel tests, when we're doing shovel test transects, they're typically about 15 meters apart, which is 15 meters apart is about like 18 to 20 steps for me. So figure that realistically, if I'm digging a shovel test right here at this post, the next person will be digging one probably like just before the second post out from me. But either way, let's assume it's 10. We're going to round to 10 just for the purposes, and then maybe like round the whole thing down a little bit. So we've got 10, 20. Nope, photo mode's going to be way quicker on this. Okay, here we go. So we've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. We're looking at about 70 meters from front to back, including the little extensions on the other side. We'll have that included to make up for the fact that we're at like our rear distance or whatever. Assuming that this is kind of similar, that one looks a little bit more shallow. So we'll say another 10, 20, 30, 45 meters wide. So we're looking at 70 by 45 is roughly the dimensions of this thing. The largest longhouse ever found is 83 meters. Thank you, Reza. That was about to be what I was Googling. So an 83 meter longhouse, this one's a decent size, not the biggest. Congratulations, guys. We just did Archaeogaming. That's it. We just did experimental archaeology in a video game. Congratulations, team. You're all honorary Archaeogamers, chat. You did it. You did it. Yes. I'd give you a badge, but I don't care.
He wanted to hold on to that strength, to hold his place in their hearts, their wills.
Right. So about the fish again, hang on one sec. It's bothering me, and I'm glad that I have an opportunity to correct this here. Hold on. Icelandic fish species. Haddock. Capelin. 50 to 65 centimeters long, but can get over 100. Oh, no. This is haddock. It's haddock again. I mean, that looks pretty similar to this guy, to the guy on the right. The haddock, not so much. He looks a little more broad. He looks a little more broad and round than those guys do. Is it a witch? It's not a witch. Arctic char. It's like a salmon. That, honestly, not a bad option. Oh my god, never mind. Hold on, I clicked the link. Look at this guy. Look at that chongus. Okay, never mind. I take it back. I'm feeling a lot less confident about the char now. I mean, I like how that capelin looks. I think the capelin is the strongest contender that we're dealing with right now. Oh no, never mind. I take it back. They're so tiny. What the hell fish is this?